Welcome. We'll wait just a few seconds here to let everyone join and then we'll begin. Thank you for your patience and welcome to the Great Broker Divide, why some brokers are losing accounts and others are winning in the C-suite. I'll turn it over to Nelson.
Thanks, Kendall. Welcome to this live cast. This is a point in time where decisions have to be made. This is a split in the road, and choices have to be made. You're going to choose to be a part of the status quo and stay on one side of the divide or move to the other side of the divide. I'm really excited about this presentation because it gives us all an opportunity to see where the industry is going and choose how we want to participate going forward. Let me pull up this presentation as everybody's seeing the Great Broker Divide. Let me start here with your new reality, because this is not just happening now. This has actually been going on for a number of years. But as one wag once put it, the future is here. It's just not widely distributed, but it is picking up momentum daily. So, two aspects to this new reality. One, the benefits conversation is moving to the C suite. There's no question about this. Um, More than half of America's chief financial officers, CFOs, make all or most benefit decisions according to the Integrated Benefits Institute. And this was from several years ago. Brown and Brown released a survey, 2026 survey. Employers ranked controlling cost for employees and employer as their top two strategic priorities. When the C-suite, CEOs and CFOs, start elevating something to the top of their priority list, they're taking a personal interest in it. CFO Magazine wrote, as healthcare costs continue to rise, CFOs are looking to reevaluate healthcare products and services they offer to employees. Again, taking a personal interest in benefits and in healthcare. Mercer wrote recently, chances are your organization's CFO has been paying more attention to your organization's healthcare expenses and cost mitigation strategies than in the past, or will start soon. And the Wall Street Journal, as health insurance costs soar, CFOs seek ways to dull the pain. For CEOs and CFOs, we're at that tipping point to take significant action. Not having HR do it, the C suite is stepping in. They want to be more involved, they want to be more engaged. So there should be no doubt in your mind that the C suite is looking at healthcare, at benefits. The problem is their strategic partner in this, their broker, is stuck talking to HR, is stuck in the HR department. What's the other component that's really changing the game? The market is moving to self funding. This has been a trend for a while. This is from 2025 from the KFF, it's a Kaiser Family Foundation, KFF Peterson Health System Tracker. This is the change in enrollment in fully insured versus self funded plans in combined the large and small group markets between 2013 and 2023. Look at the decrease in fully insured plans. 13, almost 14 million employees have left fully insured plans, and 16.2 million have been added to self funded roles. That's a dramatic shift. Now, just to be clear, the same study, the same report, wrote the number of enrollees in employer sponsored insurance overall has remained steady. So this isn't a decline in employees. That's why fully insured dropped. No, It's constant. The enrollment's been constant. What has changed is the declining trends reflect a shift among employers towards self-funded plans. McKinsey and Company, one of the top consulting firms in the world, recently wrote 2 out of 3 executives are seeking alternative plans that reduce costs, looking for cost savings of greater than 10%. Now, you can get 10% by cost shifting. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for an alternative approach, an alternative to their fully insured plan. The problem is they aren't finding it. Other surveys have said, we just don't think there's anything out there because their broker isn't bringing it to them. A fascinating study from McKinsey came out late 24. They project by 2030 up to 12 million more fully insured members, employees, plan members, could shift away from fully insured plans representing roughly $500 million in value. That's $500 million available to advisors who can help these employers make the change from fully insured to an alternative, we're talking self-funded plan. And the opportunity is huge. 73% of small groups are still self-funded, or I'm fully insured. Only 27% are self-funded. That's 3 out of 4 employers still fully insured, which means the opportunity to help them move to an alternative to their fully insured plan, a self-funded plan, is immense. 12 million employees, according to McKinsey, are likely to make the move. Employers want to make that move. That's about 250,000 employers if you take the 12 million employees and just say the average group size is 50 employees. Obviously, we're talking 20 employees to 200 employees. That's the range we're looking at here. But if you just average at 50, that's almost 250,000 employers out there. If the average is less than 50 employees, you've got more than 240. And again, the dollar value of this business is $500 million. You have an opportunity to get a piece of that if you can be a part of this change. So the $500 million question, obviously, is who will move the C-suite to self-funding? Not the employer. HR is not interested. HR is not going to be moving to self-funding. Self-funding is a finance decision. It's not a benefits decision. It's a finance decision. Finance decisions take place in the C-suite, not in HR. So HR is not going to make this move. The C-suite is looking to make the move. So who's going to move the C-suite? Is it going to be you? Or is it going to be one of your competitors calling on not just prospects you're calling on, but calling on your clients as well, putting your book of business at risk? So can you answer yes to these questions? Question 1, can you run a consultative conversation with an owner or executive? Yes or no? Second question, can you explain healthcare spend, the cost of the healthcare, as a business expense to a CEO or CFO in language they would understand? Yes or no? And then finally, yes or no, can you confidently demonstrate to a CEO or CFO that self-funding is a safe financial decision? Now, if you can answer yes to all of those, your book of business is safe and your book will grow because you can go out and take business away from brokers who can't have this conversation in the C-suite about self-funding. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is if you answer no to these, your book is at risk, terribly at risk. So let me share with you the problem. And the problem's obvious. It's the flip side of what we've been talking about. Here's the problem graphically demonstrated: a focus on renewal, a focus on spreadsheeting. I'm sorry, did I say that? Spreadsheeting. So brokers sell renewals, plan design, carrier quotes, networks. Oh, let's move to this carrier. They've got the broadest network, or they've got the best network discount. Cost shifting as a strategy. And they're selling all of this to the HR department, to a line manager in HR who does not have any control or responsibility for the profit and loss statement. In other words, the impact of the healthcare expense, the spend, doesn't affect HR. HR doesn't get scored for higher or lower. As long as they bring the renewal in under the amount that's been allocated for the next year, a 6% increase, for instance, bring it in under 6%, or the plan has to change. In other words, it's got to be 6% or less. That's HR. Here's the problem. Brokers talk about these topics, but the action is happening in the C-suite. It's happening in the executive offices with the CEO or the CFO, or in a smaller company, the owner, who, by the way, is the CFO, or probably CFO, certainly the CEO, Chief Executive Officer. The owner is the CEO of any company, unless he hires a CEO. Some owners will hire a CEO and they're chairman or just the owner. But in smaller companies, they're also CEO, owner and CEO. What do executives care about? They don't care about any of the other items we were just talking about. They don't care about the plan or plan design. They don't care about renewal. What they care about is financial predictability. I need to know how much our healthcare is going to cost us next year now. Not at renewal. I need it now. I'm planning for next year in March of this year, but I'm not going to know until the end of the year what my actual cost is going to be, my increase. So how can I plan when it's my second or third largest expense? Financial impact, the impact of the healthcare spend on the company's finances. Its impact on business objectives. They care about their business objectives. They're trying to add a new production line, or add a new fleet of trucks, or hire a new vice president of this, that, or the other. Those are their business objectives that are often impacted, prevented, by the cost of healthcare. Risk management. This is a big issue for companies. And the healthcare cost and healthcare is a risk to the company. Strategic control. CEOs and CFOs want to control everything. And finally, cash flow. These are the topics that a CEO or CFO talks about, thinks about, cares about. None of the items that brokers talk about in the HR department. Which means if they can get into the C-suite, if they attempt to talk to a CEO or CFO, most brokers walk into the room speaking the wrong language, which means you're going to be spun around and sent down the hall to Brenda in HR because the CEO or CFO doesn't care about any of the things you're talking about, because you're not talking about what they do care about, which are the items we're looking at here. And this leads us to the great broker divide. It is a chasm. It's not impossible to cross the chasm, but you've got to jump the chasm. You've got to jump the divide if you want to be a part of what's going on and will continue to increase in frequency and activity. This is the HR broker versus the C-suite advisor. That's the great divide. So the HR broker is transactional. You've got a product, Mr. Carrier. The client needs the product. This is a health plan. I'll help you with that transaction. Nothing wrong with transactional selling. It used to pay pretty well when you were a broker back in the day, 10% commission. It doesn't pay as well today, but still pays pretty well. Nothing wrong with it, but that's not what the C-suite wants. The C-suite's not interested in the transaction. They've delegated that to a line manager in HR. Spreadsheeting, renewal meetings, carrier negotiations, fully insured plans or level funded plans, all from the BLUCAs, Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna, the big carriers. And cost shifting as cost containment. Yes, it does lower the cost to the employer, but it also has another cost: morale, productivity, employee engagement, retention, recruitment. Cost shifting is not free. Cost shifting has a cost to the employer. It's just not cash. They save the cash on the health plan, but they pay in other ways. That's the HR broker side of the divide. This is what everybody's used to. This is what every broker did for a living. But times have changed, and the brokers who are winning today are winning in the C-suite, and they're winning with a different set of activities. So here's the C-suite advisor, consultative in their selling style, which allows them to discover what the client needs and wants. Well, they want a lower renewal. Not necessarily. That's not primary. The lower renewal is necessary maybe for them to achieve their business objective, but they didn't wake up saying, I want a lower renewal today, or I want a better health plan today. They're thinking about that fleet of trucks they want to buy, or that new hire they need to make, or whatever business objectives they're thinking about. Risk management, business strategy, financial modeling. Now, I don't mean you've got to have an economics degree to do this, but you do have to understand how the finance and the economics of healthcare impact the employer. Self-funded plans, when possible. Not every employer is eligible, but you have to discover that. And you have to have the conversation with the client to get them to give you the opportunity to go out and see if they can be underwritten for a self-funded plan. But these advisors are leading with self-funding when it comes to plan design or plan finance. And then finally, something we don't talk about historically in this industry, the healthcare supply chain. This is all of the healthcare services, products that employees purchase for their healthcare. A doctor's appointment, an imaging test, an MRI or a CT scan, surgery, hospitalization, a wheelchair, crutches, CPAP machine. All of this is part of the healthcare supply chain. The difference today is we know we can actually manage that supply chain if the client is self-funded with an independent third-party administrator, a TPA, that is not a BUCA. We can actually manage the quality and cost of healthcare if we're self-funded and we have the right setup. Let me move to the proof. So I've been talking about this. You go, well, maybe Nelson. Okay. I mean, I see the articles. I see you're quoting from articles, Wall Street Journal, Mercer, et cetera. That's okay. That's interesting. And I know I'm hearing about self-funding. We're doing some level funding, which, by the way, level funding is self-funding. The problem is when you use a BUCA plan, Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross, United, when you use a BUCA plan, It doesn't have any cost containment built in. It limits, in most cases, how much of the unspent claims dollars the employer can get back. Usually 50%. Why can't they have all of their money back? It's their money. It's these BUCA level funded plans may save some money, but often are rigged. Generally, they're rigged in favor of the carrier. Surprise, surprise. So let me talk to you about proof. Let me show you some proof. Brokers who make this shift from HR broker to C-suite advisor, who make that shift, who go from talking about what brokers talk about today to talking business strategy and business finance and the topics that we were just discussing, they're winning. And they're winning bigger mid-market groups from bigger, even national brokers. Here's the proof. Let me give you some examples. Beth Johnson out of Sikeston, Missouri, 250 life group taken from Mercer. Rob Winfrey, you're going to hear from Rob a little bit later, or see more from Rob, with ICI out of Wichita, Kansas, 300 employees from USI. Ed Legande out of the Los Angeles area, he's now with NAVA, but was with Nielsen Benefits at the time, 800 employee group from NFP. Dan Thompson, 1,200 life group from Willis. Dan's out of Naples, Florida with Thompson Risk. By the way, Ed Legande was 2021 Broker of the Year. He's in our mastermind group. Everybody here is next gen, I'm showing you. They're all, most are part of the mastermind group, have been or are currently. And Ed, check this out. Using a consultative approach that he discovered, learned from next gen, using that consultative approach in the C-suite, in 1 year, he put $1.2 million in sales on the books by himself. 1.2 million. An outlier? Sure, he's not going to do it next year, but he did it. And he did it because he was being consultative with decision makers at the CEO and CFO level. Marcy Heath out of Bremen, Georgia, west of Atlanta, Innovative Solutions, 130 employee group from Marsh McLennan. Shabsai Shakatowicz out of Chicago, Evergreen Benefits Group, 600 employees from Alera Group. Randy Hansen, 420 groups from Gallagher, PSG Washington, out of, he's now IOA, but at the time PSG Washington, out of the Seattle area. Ben Connor out of Indianapolis, Connor Insurance, 300 employees from Aon. If you want to contact them, call me and let me know. I can put you in touch with any of them. You can call and confirm that they're doing this kind of business. Randy and Nick Hansen, now with IOA, said that implementing next-gen strategies, we sold 7 self-funded groups in a single year, putting $280,000 in new revenue on their books. By the way, this was the first year that they did this, first year they'd ever sold any self-funding. Randy is a longtime member of our mastermind group, the Next Gen Benefits Mastermind Partnership. And it took him a couple of years to get ready to go. But when he decided it was time to go, these were the results. 7 new groups, $250,000 in new funding. Mike Hill out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, Total Control Health Plans, 1,200 employee group from Highland, major regional player. Don Shuey out of Jackson, Wyoming, Summit Insurance, 125 employee group from Brown and Brown. Brock Bertrand out of Fayetteville, Arkansas, BFS Financial Services, 205 employees from Hub. Dan Labroad, see a little bit more from him in a minute. Dan Labroad out of Ovation in Texas, Dallas, Texas, 107 employees from Lockton. In fact, we'll see from Dan right now. So Dan in 2023 was a Broker of the Year finalist, one of only 5 Broker of the Year finalists. And he says, as a next-gen advisor, I work with CEOs and CFOs, and I'm winning bigger accounts from national brokers. In fact, he says, I'm not scared to sit down in a finalist competition with anybody. You name it. Aon, Willis, Mercer, Lockton, doesn't matter. And in Next Gen, we give away the Giant Killer Award at the Ascend conference every year. These are given to advisors who take a 75 life group or bigger from a larger agency. But most of them that are submitted for the award are not just larger, they're huge. Here's a group at the Ascend Conference in 2022 with their Giant Killer Awards. Here's some of the agencies, some of the brokers that they took groups from, and you'll recognize quite a few of these. 2023, this group of Giant Killer Award recipients, you'll see that some actually are holding two. And here's some of the agencies, the brokerages that they took business from. Again, some pretty notable names. So these advisors are winning and winning big. Do they win every group? Of course they don't. But they're winning bigger than these are all small independent agencies. The biggest agency that we talked with is around 14 million in revenue. Most of them are between 1 and 3 million in revenue, and some are less than a million. These aren't big agencies. They are punching way, way above their weight class, and they're winning. So I know some of you are sitting here thinking, how can they do that? Well, they can do that in part because brokers who make this shift deliver results, meaningful bottom line results for employers and employees. So let me give you some examples of that. This is a strategy that we teach in NextGen to make a bigger impact with your client, excuse me, but also as a marketing tool. The Publisher Clearinghouse jumbo checks. So we call these dividend checks. Every investor loves a stock that pays dividends. So this is a health plan dividend check. This is money coming back from your health plan at the end of the year and returned to the employer where it belongs. So this is a $62,000 check. Kathy Aiken out of Nashville, CBA, corporate benefit analysts, to a small not-for-profit. This is $62,000. They don't have to go and fundraise. 62 that goes to their mission. This is Bill Hughes out of Waco, Texas, Benefix. Here's $387,000 to TPHS company out of Texas that got this check back at the end of the year. This is their money. This is the savings. We don't talk about it as savings. This is their dividend check. John Clay out of Somerville, Kentucky, Better Source Benefits, $780,000 to a governmental agency, the Community Action Partnership out of Gray, Kentucky. There we go. 36,000, almost 37,000 to the Vermont Wine Merchants. This is a small wine store in Burlington, Vermont. Steve Hartman with Associated Affiliates, Affiliated Associates is the advisor here. Ben Connor out of Indianapolis, mentioned Ben earlier. This is an $88,000 check to a small plants. They sell plants. They grow plants out of Indianapolis, in the Indianapolis area. And then finally, and this blows my mind, this is the first year of the new health plan that John Harris out of Dallas put into the Workers Credit Union in Massachusetts, 400 employees, well, 334 employees, saved them $1.2 million. Money that they would have spent the previous year, they get it back this year. When you can deliver these kinds of results, you can win business, and word spreads. So these photographs become marketing for you. So let me talk about the solution now. This is how specifically these advisors do what they do. So this is the next gen operating system, and these 4 items are what these advisors do. These are the solution to the HR broker problem. Consultative selling, selling as a consultant sells, which means asking questions, using a series of questions to find out what's going on with that employer, with that CEO, with that CFO, what they really want. Consultative selling lets you sell to the C-suite. And this is, of all the things, consultative selling is the most differentiating thing you can do. But moving to the C-suite is the catalyst, because the C-suite will make these things happen when they understand the value of being self-funded and their opportunity to control their healthcare costs and manage the healthcare supply chain. They manage the supply chain in every other part of their business, just not in healthcare. Selling self-funding. When you're in the C-suite, you've got to convert them from fully insured, where they feel safe, they don't have any risk. They do, of course, every year. Every year. They have the risk of an increase, which they get every year. But they think there's no risk. Moving them from fully insured to self-funding, you've got to be able to do that. And these advisors know how to do that. And finally, once you are self-funded and have control of the plan with an independent TPA, you can manage the quality and cost of healthcare, manage the supply chain. This happens to be the next gen benefits operating system. And this graphic shows why it works. Consultative selling allows you to go into the C-suite and have a conversation. If you're transactional, they aren't talking to you. You've got to be consultative. When you're in the C-suite, you have to use their language. You have to talk about what they're interested in. You have to have a strategic financial conversation. But when you do that, they're going to listen to you. They're going to be interested in what you have to say. And they're interested in the alternatives to what they're currently doing, which is self-funding. And you're able to sell them self-funding so they understand why it makes sense for them financially and strategically. Once you're self-funded, then you can manage the healthcare supply chain. So you see how it all works together. You can't skip one because you can't get to the next one if you skip one. It's very forward working. It's very well designed to achieve the results we achieve. So let's talk about the 4 strategies. And I just showed them to you. Consultative selling, strategy 1. Consultative selling is about asking questions. Many of them will be deficit questions, the most devastating tool in your toolbox. Deficit questions create doubt in the mind of that CEO or CFO that they actually know what they're talking about. You seem to know more than they do. Well, of course you do. But you don't want to just tell them that. You use deficit questions to create that sense that this person knows more than I know. I need to work with this individual because I don't know what they know. And what they know seems to be very important. Understanding, and this is where the questions come in, they allow you to understand the employer, this specific employer's business priorities. What are their business objectives? What do they want to achieve? What's on their to-do list? What's at the top of their want list? And then positioning healthcare in the mind of that CEO or CFO as a controllable cost center. Not something that we don't have any control over it. It's medical trend. The carriers make the determination. We're just passive onlookers. No, you can take control. And there is nothing a CEO or CFO craves more than control. So if you can show them how to do that, you're gold. Strategy 2. First strategy, consultative selling. Second strategy, selling the C-suite. Selling the C-suite is about risk management. It's showing them how you can help them manage the risk around not just self-funding, because actually done right, there is no additional risk, and but manage the risk of being on the hook to pay for their employees' health care. Again, this is their second or third largest operating expense. And with things like GLP-1s and gene therapy, we're looking at times at a $3 million spend on gene therapy. How do you handle that? What do you do about GLP-1s where everybody wants it for weight loss, et cetera? Financial predictability. That CFO wants to know what he's going to be spending next year, well before renewal, well before you get those renewal numbers for the following year. What's the impact on their business operations? This is something you talk about. This is something you've got to ask. You find out, and then you show them how you can ameliorate that impact, mitigate that impact. Consultative selling, selling the C-suite. Strategy 3, selling self-funding. Selling self-funding is about being able to debunk the myths around self-funding. It's too risky for a company my size. A catastrophic claim would bankrupt me. That's not true. Not when the plan's designed properly. Not when stop loss insurance is purchased correctly. Another myth. Oh, the volatility, the claims volatility. One month it's $3,000 in claims I owe. The next month it's $300,000. That would kill my cash flow. I can't handle that. You don't have to handle it. There's something known as level funding. This is where level funded plans get their name. Level funding, where the employer just pays a premium every month like they do with their fully insured plan. But it's a self-funded plan, but it smooths out their cash flow. Showing them control, showing them how control is possible when they're self-funded. When you are in a fully insured plan, who runs the plan? Who makes all the decisions? The insurance company, the carrier. If you are self-funded and you don't have the carrier managing your plan, you're in control. You have all sorts of latitude around plan design, around cost containment strategies, other than cost shifting. Demonstrating cost governance, the fact that you can actually manage the cost of healthcare, starting with the quality. We actually lead NextGen with quality. We look at quality providers is the best way. You want to spend less on healthcare, go higher quality healthcare. Higher quality costs less overall and in the long run. So selling self-funding, particularly debunking the myths to get them to understand why self-funding is a practical, safe, and sensible finance decision. Consultative selling, selling the C-suite, selling self-funding. Finally, strategy 4, healthcare cost containment. I love the fact that we're using this picture because it's a little bit different than everyone. What are they celebrating? They're celebrating they're controlling their healthcare costs. They're paying less than they have to because they're managing those costs. That's worth a glass of champagne. Healthcare cost containment. Some of the low-hanging fruit, pharmacy. So transparent pharmacy dealings, a good PBM that manages the drugs as a fiduciary or as fully disclosed, where the employer is able to see everything that the PBM is doing. It's fair. And the savings over CVS Caremark, Express Scripts, or Optum is 75% in some cases, 50 to 75% in many cases. Reference-based pricing, you've heard of it. You may be familiar with it. This is something we don't always use, and it doesn't work everywhere. But where it works really well. So it's an option. It's an option a lot of employers have heard about, so you want to be able to talk about it. May not be the right choice for them, but it's an option. Better than RBP in many instances is direct contracting, where you simply go to the hospital and develop a contract. Now, you wouldn't do that. There are companies that do that for you, and many of them have already built contracts. So you just tap into existing contracts, but you're getting rid of the carrier contract, which is a discount off of an artificially high number, a retail number that nobody pays. Instead, we negotiate up from cost, add a profit for the hospital or the physician, and everybody's happy. And then finally, navigation, uh, guiding employees to high quality providers is win win, win win win. Everybody wins with this. So these are some of the cost containment strategies that you will need to know. So, consultative selling, selling the C suite, selling self funding, healthcare cost containment. This is the operating system of NextGen, but it's the operating system of the C suite advisor. So, about now, you are probably thinking, how do I do this? How do I make the transition? How do I cross the divide from the HR broker side of the industry to the C-suite advisor side? So I hope this has been helpful. Has this been helpful to give you a sense of where the industry is and where it's going, and who is winning and why they're winning, and frankly, how they're winning? I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you'll give me permission to show you how we help brokers jump the divide to go from the HR broker side of the house over to the C-suite advisor side of the industry. So let me show you the shortcut, because this is about getting there faster and easier. Can you learn this? Yes, you can study. There's Google. If you Google the right things, you'll get some information. We give out a lot of information, and you can do it on your own, but it's slow. Coming to our Ascend conference, which is in June here in Nashville, I would encourage you to come. Attendascend.com if you want to check out the conference. It's our annual event for progressive, innovative advisors. This is our 11th year, so we've been doing this a while. It's the most unique conference in the industry, I promise you. But if you want to do this fast and a lot easier, the shortcut is our NextGen Benefits Boot Camp. This is basic training on NextGen. This is where you learn the skill set of the C-suite advisor. So this is an actual photograph of a boot camp session a couple of years ago. This is our 7th year running the boot camps for NextGen, and we've had hundreds of brokers go through this boot camp to great success, and I'll share some of that with you in a moment. Boot camp is where you start and you separate from the pack. This is where brokers become C-suite advisors. Now, it's basic training. I don't want to lead you on to believe that you're going to walk out a polished C-suite advisor, able to walk in to a 5,000 life C-suite and parlay with the CEO. That's going to take a little bit of time. Remember when you got into the industry and you didn't know the difference between a copay and co-insurance, but you managed and you learned and you developed. Well, this is not a lot different, but you've got boot camp available to flatten that learning curve dramatically. I want to share the vision of NextGen real quick. Our vision is the highest quality healthcare, accessible, it's available, and affordable to all Americans, starting with the employees of our clients, which is the only place we can start. This is what gets us up in the morning. This is what drives us in NextGen, because we can actually make healthcare accessible and affordable for the employees of our clients. And next gen isn't just a theory or it's a movement. It is a cause. This is the next gen benefits revolution. We are changing healthcare in the private sector. Forget government. Government's not going to fix healthcare. Government would just muck it up even further if that's possible. You know, somebody said government run healthcare. Well, if you love the efficiency of the post office and the wait times of the DMV and the compassion of the IRS, you'll love government run healthcare. So we're fixing it in the private sector, and you have the opportunity to be a part of that. All right. The framework in Next Gen Benefits is the tool set, the skill set, and the mindset. All are important. The skill set's the most critical as long as the mindset's right. But we can work on the skill set and the tool set. Mindset, you know, you have to get there. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But the mindset is important. It's I'm no longer an insurance broker. I'm a healthcare advisor. I'm a benefit advisor. I don't work with HR, I work with the C-suite, those sorts of things. So let me show the agenda of boot camp. We have an online virtual orientation, a couple of hours, a couple of weeks before we actually meet. Boot camp is live in person here in Nashville. Day one, the first module is moving from broker to advisor. And we talk about all of the aspects of that. The second module, adopting consultative selling. This is a critical piece. This is about going from that transactional model to a consultative approach that lets you talk to the C-suite. Then day two, master the C-suite conversation, which is, for a lot of people, this is the real payoff because this is the language you use. This is about the concepts in the C-suite, understanding the CEO and the CFO. Who are they? What do they want? How do they think? And then what kind of language do they use? So strategic messaging, overcoming the C-suite's fear of change. We talk about managing change, the mindset shift, your mindset shift from HR to the C-suite. The next module, building your next gen benefits solutions toolbox and team. So this is about vendors you would use and the tools you need as a next gen advisor. And then the final day, which is a half day, learning the alternative funding essentials. Alternative funding is what we use for self-funding. We don't use the term self-funding with employers, and you'll learn why in boot camp. But we talk about how to debunk the 5 myths of self-funding. I gave you a couple of them. Reframing self-funding as a business strategy. It's a finance strategy. They think it's a benefit strategy. It's not. Understanding self-funding fundamentals and risk management around self-funding and why you never, ever want to use the term self-funding again with a client. And then the final module is implementing next-gen benefits, the quick start. This is our crawl, walk, run, soar strategy. So you're going to crawl initially. Your clients will often want to crawl initially. We learn to meet the client where they are. We don't force this down their throat. Identifying your ideal prospects, the Next Gen Easy button. And there is a Next Gen Easy button that makes it so much easier for you than you think. And then the high value solutions you can present immediately. This is about you being able to go and have a conversation the day after you get back from boot camp. And you might actually close a prospect. And if you do, there's the easy button. All right. Terry Shook is a former executive with Blue Cross, 20-year executive with Blue Cross Illinois. He's now a Next Gen advisor. As he puts it, he's paying penance for the sins he committed when he was with Blue Cross. But he said, I spent most of boot camp with my jaw on the table. But instead of me telling you, let me let you just listen to Terry in a minute. The training objectives are are to transform your mindset, first of all, help you master consultative selling, engaging the C-suite. How do you do that? And how do you do it effectively? How do you do it with confidence? Self-funding and high performance plans, understanding what they are and how they work so you can explain that to an employer. And then finally, building your competitive advantage, leveraging these strategies to take out the HR broker almost every time. Mark Grisani is out of New York City, a highly successful advisor, said boot camp is the most impactful training I've had since I got into this business 19 years ago. All right, the logistics. We've got a boot camp coming up in April, the second week of April, the 6th through the 8th. It's 3 days on site here in Nashville. It's a seminar and workshop format, so it's very hands-on. You're going to hear from me, but you're also going to be doing a lot of work yourself. And again, it's here in Nashville. You remember I said this, brokers who make this shift are winning bigger, mid-market groups from bigger, even national brokers. And I gave you a lot of examples of that. I want to give you one more example. Rob Winfrey out of Wichita said, using strategies from boot camp, I put 230, this was last year, by the way, that he had this $230,000 a year, 230,000 in new business on the books. And this was last year. Let me show you some of the groups that he took using next gen strategies. A church, 150 employees, won it from Gallagher. A manufacturer with 75 lives from Brown and Brown, and a 300 employee hospital from USI. How's that for a pretty good record of taking business away from much bigger agencies and brokerages that frankly he has no reason to do this. ICI is a PNC shop. Rob runs the benefits division. No reason he should be able to do this except he can deliver results that they won't deliver. I also wanted to mention boot camp is part of our Mastery Track program. You don't have to do Mastery Track. You can do boot camp by itself. But Mastery Track combines implementation and collaboration with boot camp. So these are a roundtable of other boot camp graduates, exclusively for boot camp graduates. This is a peer-to-peer approach. You're mentoring one another for the opportunity to innovate what we call next practices as well as best practices. Best practices help you do the status quo better. Next practices up the game. And then finally, collaborate, encourage, and provide each other accountability. This is about personal and professional growth, not just professional. This is there are 12 roundtable meetings, 2 in person, 10 virtual. And you have a professional facilitator named Aaron Whitwer, who was an advisor himself, knows Next Gen in and out, to keep things rolling, to keep things going smoothly within the roundtable. All right, let's see. I want to share with you this. So Mastery Track is a 12-month program. Boot camp comes first, is included in the price. Then roundtable meetings in person, 2 of those, and then 10 facilitated virtual roundtable meetings. So boot camp investment, because we're just talking boot camp here. You can expand this into Mastermind. In fact, in Mastery Track. In fact, you can take your full investment in boot camp and apply it to Mastery Track if you want to continue on in Mastery Track. But boot camp is $3,500. That includes a pre-boot camp prep package with reading. Basically, it's some homework to get you ready for boot camp so you don't come in cold. The orientation session that's virtual, and then the 3-day in-person workshop. I want you to listen real quick to Harlan Pickett, who is a graduate of boot camp, who said, "There's no training that's as impactful. It's the best investment I've ever made." But then he had this to say. Give me 1 second here. We'll go back to that.
Wait a second. So many people out there, I think, that want to do things differently. I thought I was by myself. I'm all alone. There's no one here beside me, right? And just finding out about Next Gen was an epiphany. Right? Wait a second. I'm not by myself. There's other people that think this way. There's other people that see the problem. It's so interesting when you find out you're not on that island alone, right? I got to find my tribe. And I didn't even know I had a tribe on the island. But I got to find them, and that was amazing. What an incredible opportunity it is when you find out all the things you don't know, because you didn't know them, right? But then you find out, wow, there's all these other people that have actually been doing this for years, and so let's all learn it together. Let's navigate it together. You've got someone on your team. Like I said, you've got a tribe. How amazing is that to realize that a lot of the mistakes that have been made, you don't have to make those because you have people that are on your side keeping you from doing that. Well, that's exactly what Nelson has done. He's gathered all of this information, and now he's teaching you what to do and cautioning you about what not to do, all the way down from the words to say. Think about that.
So I want to give you a special offer. Boot camp is $3,500, but if you register today, and actually, let me make it through the end of the week. Make it through the end of the week, through close of business on Friday. If you register for boot camp before the close of business on Friday, I'm going to give you a $1,000 scholarship, by the way, courtesy of Elan Health Plans, who is a strategic partner of Next Gen. But that makes your one-time payment $2,500. But I want to make it a little bit richer for you. If you register off of this live cast, I'm going to throw in and include a 60-minute success consultation session with me. And now this gives us a chance before boot camp or after. It doesn't really matter. We can do it before or after. But it gives me a chance to work with you and help you identify your strengths, weaknesses, what's going to stand in your way of being successful with Next Gen, and what's going to help you accelerate your success with Next Gen. Now, I'm paid $5,000 for a 90-minute consulting session. That's what vendors pay me. That's what brokers pay me. So this is an hour. This is about $3,500 value that is absolutely free. So $3,500 is the value, but it's no cost to you. So if you sign up for boot camp by the end of business, it would be 5 o'clock Friday afternoon, Central Time. If you sign up but before then or by then, we'll save you $1,000. And Kendall, do you have a code for that, or do we have to mail that to them?
I can put one in the chat in a minute.
Okay. So Kendall's going to put the code you use when you check out to save the $1,000 on boot camp. And I will throw in the $3,500 hour-long success consultation session with me. So let me give you the link to go to learn more about boot camp. There's more information on the website. This is about Mastery Track, but there's a whole section on boot camp in there as well. And then you just choose the boot camp option when you sign up. If you want to do Mastery Track, you certainly can. Most of our boot camp attendees end up doing Mastery Track, but that's an option, not a requirement. All right, we are over. I want to thank you, but I want to congratulate you for taking the time and investing the time to discover what this great broker divide is all about, which side you're on and which side you want to be on, And if you want to take the move, if you want to shift over, jump the divide to be a C-suite advisor with all that comes with that, the ability to work in the C-suite. By the way, you working in HR, you can't turn around without bumping into another broker trying to get in. You work in the C-suite, you have blue ocean. There is no other broker in the C-suite. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to win. That's on you. And of course, the client, the prospect. But it does mean you're not going to be jostling against a whole bunch of other brokers in the C-suite because they're not there. Congratulations on making the investment of time today. I would love to have you in boot camp in April. By the way, there is a 100% money back guarantee. If you come to boot camp and at the end of the first day, you go, I'm not getting anything out of this, we will not only refund your full $2,500 payment, but we'll give you a $500 American Express gift card to help cover your travel. So fully guaranteed. This is risk-free. But I guarantee you, and I will guarantee you, that this will change your career. All right. Hope to see you in April at the boot camp. Make it a fantastic rest of the week.